What's good, everybody? Welcome into our Week 12 NFL Mega Preview of the Early Edge. We are powered by the Almighty Sportsline, the best value in all of sports betting, and it's not even close. And the weeks just start to come together. But this week there are three games on Thanksgiving Day. We break down every single game right here in the next 45 to 60 minutes, and also give you our best early bets of games that we really like the line that we want you to get in early on. All right, a little housekeeping. Here's what we're going to do today. If we get to 300 likes, I need everybody watching the show to pound that like button. You can only do it one time, then get back into the chat. Let's be very, very active today. If we get to 300 likes, I'll give away a free Early Edge hoodie that nobody can get right now. And also, don't forget, we have a full week of shows here on Early Edge Live. In addition to this mega preview, Wednesday we do our college football preview. Thursday we have Countdown to Thursday Night Football. Sunday, 2 shows, and then Monday Night Football as well. So we never, ever stop. Let's bring in the stars of the show. And they grind like nobody else. Right below me, he is our NFL guy, R.J. White. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Happy Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving week to everyone else. I'm hoping you guys got your plans all locked in, ready to watch a ton of football on Thursday and then get back at it on Sunday.
You're damn right. I love it, and I love the fact that there are 3 games now on Thanksgiving. Maestro, how are you physically feeling today after that big rec league basketball championship last night?
Still basking in the glow. You know, we're texting each other, congratulating everyone on a great season. But seriously, I'm a little ticked off, at my NFL performance last week, 3-5 on the site. I'm just so raring to go for this week.
I know you're locked and loaded, so let's get to it. Mikey, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Coach. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all. Very excited for this week. It's a lot of games that are very interesting, some very interesting numbers at the sportsbooks right now. So excited to dig in with everybody here.
Yeah, it's a very good word you just used. Interesting. I think for the first time in several weeks also, we have some games that really, really are good matchups as far as records are concerned with the teams. And I think that's pretty cool. We're now getting into week 12, and we're starting to look towards the playoffs as we are getting towards the end of November. So we do our best bets first, and we'll get into every single game on the board until we are done. So, RJ, I'll let you have the floor first. What are your best bets today?
Yeah, I like the Steelers plus 4.5. The market has pushed that one up. It was 3.5. But I'm going with the Steelers. I think that they're going to have several key defensive players back that missed that last game. Defense was atrocious last week. But it seems like those guys are returning to practice, so I'm going to count on them playing in that game. Just seems divisional game, going to be a low-scoring rock fight type of game where one team wins by 3. So I like getting even more than 3, even having the other side of 4 now in this one, now that it's up to 4.5. So I got them. I got the Panthers when it was pick 'em. It's gone up. I think that everybody kind of recognizes that the Panthers are getting get better with Cam at quarterback. Learns more of the offense. Things start to open up for them. I don't think that Miami defense is going to defend well against a Christian McCaffrey-led offense. It doesn't really, match up with what they do well defensively, and they're a bad offensive matchup too. Like you need to attack this Carolina team by running the ball, and Miami doesn't run it, and when they do, they don't run it very well. So it just seems like a game that Carolina's going to go in there and win. I got the Falcons as a pick 'em against the Jaguars. Falcons are a terrible team. Jaguars are worse. I think you should be fading Jaguars, especially if you don't even have to lay points. I mean, if you're getting pick 'em and you don't have to lay points against the Jaguars, I'm going to take that. I don't really care if it's a bad Atlanta team on the other side. We've seen that they've beaten bad teams. They beat teams like the Jets and Giants earlier this year. So this seems like a game they can win. And then I got the Jets plus 3. It looks like Zach Wilson's going to be the starter. They're the 2 quarterbacks on the COVID list. That doesn't really worry me because I'm not really playing on the Jets. I'm playing against the Texans. I was on them last week. They came through, but the offense didn't look good. They benefited from the type of turnovers that Tennessee had been getting the last few weeks, where they just win games because teams are handing them the ball, in on their side of the field. And so Houston had 3 drives where they didn't have to go anywhere, and they got 13 points out of it, and that's why they won that game. But I don't think they're a good team. I think the Jets can come in and win this game. It's basically, if you're going to give me points with either of these teams, I'm going to take them. And then getting a field goal in that game, it just seems like Houston shouldn't be favored by a field goal over anybody.
All right, very good. So we're going to go Pittsburgh, Panthers, Falcons, and the Jets early for R.J. White. Now, Maestro, you and R.J. and myself, but you guys are way more important than I am, we're on the Giants last night, and I saw Dan Orlovsky today do a great breakdown of how bad some of the offensive plays were. Not necessarily Daniel Jones' fault. They had one wide receiver where 3 wide receivers ran to the same spot. It was unbelievably bad how bad their defense was last night. But we've got to move on. But, man, Daniel Jones and that Giants team, not even an NFL offense right now.
Yeah, and I just got to correct one thing. RJ was on the Bucs last night.
Oh, my fault. Who else was on the Giants with us last night? Was it AB? Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All I know is that we didn't win. So that's all I care about. But now Jason Garrett is gone, but at least that makes me feel a little bit better about watching the biggest debacle in NFL football last night. But what do you got for us today?
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing was, as bad as they played, they really had a chance to cover that with one backdoor touchdown until pretty late. But, we move on. I agree with RJ on the Falcons. And I also like the Carolina pick. I'm probably going to jump on that as well because Carolina has an elite pass defense, and Miami throws the ball all the time and can't run the ball. But officially for the show so far, Falcons on as a pick 'em. The Jaguars lost Agnew. They're really bereft of weapons. Lawrence kind of seemed dejected and defeated after that game against San Francisco. They don't really have any answers, but, they're not doing any motion. They're not doing any play disguise. It's a pretty simple offense, and he doesn't have a lot of weapons right now. And Cordarrelle Patterson coming back for the Falcons, it looks like that's huge. So I'm going to take the Falcons. And then on Thanksgiving, instead of laying the points with the big points with the Cowboys and the Bills, I'll just put them in a money line parlay, comes back at minus 123. The Saints, that was kind of a mirage that they scored all those points. That was against Eagles prevent defense. The last 3 drives, I think, were touchdown drives for the Saints. That was a blowout. The Eagles completely dominated, and I'm not buying into Trevor Siemian. Taysom Hill, they haven't really used, even though they give him a big contract. He's got the foot injury. I just checked the injury report. There are 2 Bills on the report. One was limited, Beasley. One was full. The Saints have 11 guys on the report and some key guys, not just Alvin Kamara. So the Bills are much healthier. The Bills can exploit that secondary and make some big pass plays against the Saints. And also the Cowboys, without Ruggs, the Raiders offense is really struggling against some pretty mediocre defenses. They have no one to stretch the field. So they're ganging up on Waller, ganging up on Renfro. And just think the Cowboys should be able to run the ball at will, whether it's Zeke or Pollard. Put those in a parlay.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The Cowboys, their defense played pretty well last week against the Chiefs. Their offense just couldn't do anything against that Chiefs defense for once showing up. But, Mikey, I know you don't have an official play, but I do want to come to you with a topic because Maestro brought up some names of teams, and I don't know that I can remember a season in the NFL that had more teams that looked like Jekyll and Hyde. The Bills are one of them. The Titans are one of them. The Bucs are one of them. A lot of teams that look great one week, and then like the Bills last week, you're at home, a chance to stretch your lead, and instead of doing that, you give the Patriots hope. Can you remember a season that we've seen this much variance with good teams?
Not really a season where we've seen this many. Usually we see it with 2 to 3 teams, but I would say you could even throw in the 49ers in that group at times. You could throw the Kansas City Chiefs in that group at times, the Arizona Cardinals there. Like there are a number of teams, and it just shows you there's not one truly dominant team. As far as the Bills last week, they ran into a very good Colts team. Everyone keeps complaining, why are the Colts so high in the power ratings? Why are the Colts so high in the power ratings? Because they're a good football team, and they've simply underperformed in terms of the actual wins on the football field, but they're still a good team that moves the football. So we'll correct you, though. I do have 4 official picks, actually. Got them up here on the screen right now.
Very good. My apologies.
You're good. I'm going to run through them quickly. Very similar to Larry's play here. I took it in a teaser, minus 120. You could take it minus 123 on the money line parlay that he played. I got the Bills plus a half, and then Cowboys minus 1.5. I think it's a massive get-right spot for both of these teams on the short week. Really like both of them here. Not expecting Alvin Kamara back. Mark Ingram also popped up on the injury report. Neither one of the 2 running backs practiced this week. I think some of it's a little cautionary. I think obviously one of the 2 is going to play, but it is a short week, and notice that they're not practicing. Another teaser I absolutely love, the Titans. Big controversial spot here this week against the Patriots. Love backing this Titans team when they are an underdog. I hate backing them when they are a favorite. Like getting 12.5 here, and then I'm pairing it with the Steelers. They're plus 4.5 in the market at Caesars right now. put them in the teaser. You get them all the way up to 10.5. Very significant number against a team like the Browns and the way the Browns like to play, or not the Browns, the Bengals in this spot. So I like this spot for them. And then Falcons, just like the other two guys here on the stream, I think that they're clearly the better team here against the Jaguars. The Jaguars team is an absolute mess. Patterson should be back for the Falcons. And then the Panthers, back on the Panthers again. I missed the pick. It's up to -1, -1.5 in a few spots. I would still play this one at -1.5 if I had to, but they're a much better team with Cam Newton under center. And like RJ pointed out, I don't think this Miami team, the team that struggled to really scrape by against a Joe Flacco-led Jets team, I don't think they have the ability to stop Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore anytime this offense gets the ball across the 50-yard line.
You almost said it like it's a question, like a Joe Flacco-led Jets team. Like, we weren't really sure if he was leading the team. We're not really sure. This is a great teaching moment right here, because there's going to be some people at home right now that look at this board and go, wait a second. There's a Cowboys-Bills parlay. So tell the people at home the difference, Mikey, between playing yours where the Cowboys would have to win by 1.5, basically the same amount of juice that Larry's is, and all both teams have to do is win. What's the difference, or why wouldn't we play Larry's instead?
The reason I wouldn't play it is, look, there's not a massive difference. The 123 is not one you're going to find for long as the game moves for one, while the one is -120 is going to stay there for the most part at that spot. But for me, I'm hyper conscious of what I pay for every single game, and 3 cents may not seem like a lot, but when you're playing 365 days a year, 3 cents is a massive deal.
There you go. And that's what I needed to hear. All right, so that is our best bets for the week from RJ, Mikey, and the Maestro. But we do so much more than that here on this show. We go through every single game and give you a little bit of nuggets, things maybe you didn't know, and where we're leaning early in the week. As you know, the lines always change, as Mikey just said. All right, let's jump right in. RJ, I'm going to start with you because we got to count them. 3 games on Thanksgiving Day this year. The first one, it's always the Lions. They're going to be hosting the Chicago Bears. The Bears coming in, quarterback issues. The Lions, quarterback issues. So the Bears are laying 3.5. The total sitting at 42. RJ, talk to me.
Yeah, some people are going to want to eat early and get this game, get their meal out of the way and not watch this game. I would caution you, do not eat and then plan on watching any part of this game afterwards, because you will throw that back up, because this is just going to be an ugly game. I love taking Detroit when they're getting a lot of points. They're 6-1 against the spread when their dogs have at least 6 points. But they get housed in games where they're supposed to compete, lost all 3 by double digits when they're 3 or 3.5 point underdogs. That includes a trip to Chicago in week 4, lost by 10 when they had Goff at quarterback. Now he might be back. It seems like he's trending toward playing. So that would be good for them to keep it close. Injuries on Chicago D may also make it easier for Detroit offense. But Baltimore's offense struggled in the matchup last week. So I don't know how good they're going to be, because they haven't been good all year. Detroit hasn't reached 20 points since week 1. Feels like this is really a Andy Dalton, David Montgomery game that they can get them to Chicago to 20+. And I don't know that Detroit can keep up the way they're playing. So I like Chicago here. I took it at 3.5 on the site just because we had to get it in early, get those featured picks up early. But I think if Goff is rolled in, it's going to come down a little bit. You'll be able to play the Bears at 3, and that's where I'd be looking to play the Bears.
Would we like based off what RJ just said, Mikey, would we want to maybe sprinkle a little bit on the under in this game?
It's a little low. I actually lean towards the over just slightly, but that's also banking on Goff being the starting quarterback. They are better with him, whether you like it or not. They simply are a better team with him under. So I lean towards the over in it at the low total that it's at now. Definitely going to be a contrarian play. But so for me personally, I'm out on the under, but totally get why we would like it. I think there's some interesting motivation on the Bears side, potentially with the news circulating that Nagy's out after this game, maybe regardless of the outcome of the game, potentially a spot where they come in, put up some points, cover the spread, and they're, oh, just kidding, you get to stay. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that news. But for me personally, I am not on the under, although I know that will be a consensus for sure.
All right, we'll keep an eye on both of those numbers as the week continues, and we count down to the early start, 12:30 Eastern on Thursday. Maestro, let me come to you. The next game on the board, and this has a game, as we just saw, that has a lot of interest in parlays, in teasers, And right now it's sitting at 7, but it's been hovering in the 8 and 7 number, 4:30 Eastern, the total of 50.5. Floor is yours.
I'm seeing a lot of books moving to 7.5 and 8 on this one, even though it looks like no Lamb and no Cooper. That's why I was a little hesitant to lay it, even though they should be able to run the ball. Zeke was a full practice today. The Raiders are a mess. We talked about the coaching decisions, very not aggressive. They don't have any downfield threats right now. You can run the ball on them pretty easily. The Cowboys looked, very respectable defensively. I think they're getting some guys back on the D line as well. So, I mean, if I had to play the spread, it would be Cowboys or pass, but I'm just going to stick it in the money line.
All right. That's it's really fascinating when we look at now. We knew we were going to get to this point this year, guys, that COVID was going to be an issue, injuries were going to be an issue. What do you think, RJ, has been a bigger issue, the COVID or the injuries?
I think it's really been the injuries. We haven't really seen too many COVID outbreaks where teams are just missing a ton of people at one position. We have seen, random quarterbacks have to start games here and there, so that hasn't been great. But it just seems like like it is every year, just so many injuries start piling up, and it starts affecting, which teams are good, which teams are bad. Dallas, they're probably going to be down those 2 receivers, but they might probably going to get back Tyron Smith. I think he was upgraded to a full practice on Tuesday. That's huge because he might be the MVP of that offense, out of everybody. Maybe you wouldn't think that. You think Dak and the receivers, but they just fall apart when he's not on the field. And in this game where, like Larry said, Vegas defense ranks much better versus pass than run, you want to run the ball on them. You want to get your offensive line healthy. They got beat up by Mixon last week. They're going to get beat up by that Pollard combination this week, and they won't have to throw it to the receivers too much because they're just going to be running the ball against an offense that has scored less than 16 points in 3 straight, multiple turnovers in each game. They're probably not going to play well against the Dallas defense. So really think this is a ball control, lower scoring game because the Raiders aren't scoring a ton. So I would look to the under here. And I'm probably not laying that huge of a number, but I can understand why the Cowboys line is going up because I want no part of the Raiders right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely zero part of the Raiders right now. And again, that number for the Cowboys, 50.5, the total in that game. All right, Mikey, let me come to you. Our next game on the board, the third and final game on Thanksgiving. And you don't always, I guess rarely would be a good word, see a big-time contract signed in the middle of the NFL season. But yesterday, it shocked some. You called it very, very smart. Kind of the most creative quarterback contract that we've seen. Taysom Hill, he's going to make 4 years, around $40 million. If he becomes a starting quarterback, that could go up to around $95 million. And he's not even like a normal starter. So, yes, it's smart, and the Saints value him, but they've got to figure out what they're doing at quarterback because they're welcoming the Bills. The Bills are laying 4 in the Superdome, 8:20 Eastern, the total at 46.5. Talk to me.
Yeah, no, it's super smart. I was actually talking to Sia, our man Sia, about the contract a little bit. It's a little deceiving. I think it's a really smart, friendly deal for the organization. I don't think there's any intention on him being a starting quarterback for that organization. So I think that they've structured it that way for a reason. But as far as this game goes, I like the Bills here. I've included them in the teaser that I have. I think it's a really good get-right spot for them. Obviously, short week for both teams, but short week for the Saints. The Saints did put up some points against the Eagles, but it wasn't pretty at all. Look, Kamara, not expecting him to be back. Mark Ingram banged up, missed practice today as well. I think they're a mess at quarterback. I think it's a spot where the Bills can absolutely get right in this spot here. So it's Bills or nothing for me. Haven't played them completely yet. I'm hoping that we maybe get some sort of news on the running back situation that maybe draws some interest on the New Orleans side and get a little better number on the Bills. But I like the Bills in this one. I think it's a really, really, really good spot for them. As far as the total, I have a slight lean on the over. Only reason I like the slight lean on the over is this total's a touch low for a Bills game when they're playing in a controlled environment in a dome like this. This Bills team, when they are right, they are routinely a threat to put up 30 to 35 points in any given game, as we saw early in the season. When they get right, which again, I think it will be this week, they're going to be right back on track on some overs. Like if they haven't struggled so much in a couple of these games recently, this total would be sitting at 47.5 pretty clearly.
Okay. And the new number we're going to use, it just changed. The jeweler let me know 5.5 now. It has gone up to the total down to 45.5. So it's going to be moving. Very, very important to get that right number where you can get it. All right, let's move on to the next game. Now we're moving to Sunday. And RJ, I'm coming back to you. Steelers and the Bengals. And Cincinnati, they went on the road. They didn't look great against Las Vegas, but they got the job done. And that's what is important. The total sitting at 45.5. What do you got?
Cincinnati won in Pittsburgh in week 3, and they haven't swept Pittsburgh since, I think, 2009. Are they really going to come in here and sweep the Steelers? I know the Steelers are not playing well. They're not a great team, but it's not like Cincy is this juggernaut that we thought they were before they lost to the Jets. Pittsburgh's defense will hopefully have Minka and TJ Watt back this week. They played awful without them, and Joe Hayden. It seems like all those guys are going to practice. So you'll want to get ahead of the injury news, because if those guys are ruled in, and they're not questionable or worse on the injury report, this line should come down. But I like it at 4.5. That's why I want to jump on it early, because I don't think it can go up any higher unless those guys all get ruled out again. It doesn't seem we're going that way. Cincy succeeded with the run last week. That's where Pittsburgh defense is struggling, but it's atypical for Cincy to focus on the run. They typically like to throw it to those playmakers. But if they do that again this week, they could have some success. I just don't know that it's going to happen with that coaching staff and their philosophy, what they do. Pittsburgh's offense surprisingly struggled to run the ball. They're the only team that can't run the ball against the Chargers, apparently. But they had 3 super short scoring drives in the fourth quarter that helped pump that score up. So the offense really didn't play as well as the score would indicate, but I actually do think they played better than we've seen them in the past few weeks. So I kind of like what I saw from them, especially with Ben coming off of no practice and they having to do everything virtually. It does feel like Cincy's the better team in the market right now, but they weren't playing well before that win over Vegas, and we've said that the Raiders aren't good. So if the Pittsburgh defense is healthy, they're going to keep this one close. It's going to be a low-scoring AFC North type of game where one of these teams wins by 3. So I like jumping on Pittsburgh at 4.5 right now.
Oh, I do too. I feel like, Maestro, when you look at the Steelers, that if they don't win this week, that Big Ben's playoff career is over, because I think this is going to be his last season. And right now, the Ravens are sitting at 7-3. What are your thoughts on either one of these teams being a playoff team?
Well, I like Cincy more, and it all depends on the injury report for the Steelers, because the Steelers' defense is currently constructed what we've seen the last couple of weeks against the Bears and the Chargers. Not good. I think about 700 passing yards given up in those 2 games, and I think Burrow should have a field day. But let's check the injury report, so I'm staying off at this point.
All right, very good. We're going to stay with you, Maestro. Our next game on the board, and this is one of those marquee games. This is a game, Mikey said, everybody's upset. Why are the Colts up there? We're going to see just how good they are in back-to-back weeks, because they hold the Bucs. The defending Super Bowl champions are coming in, laying 2.5. The total sitting at 51. What do you got, Maestro?
I'm going to be stubborn here. Even though the Colts, made me look very foolish when I backed the Bills, I'm going to definitely lean towards the Bucs at under 3. Because this Colts team, they are the luckiest team in terms of turnovers. So they were +5 or +4 against the Bills. They had the guy on the return just drop the ball, and some of that luck has got to turn. I think it's 7 turnovers and no giveaways the last 3 weeks for the Colts. They've capitalized on all those. Credit to them. Jonathan Taylor is unbelievable. But if there's one team that can slow down the running game, which is what the Colts linchpin, then it's the Buccaneers. So at this low of a price, I think Brady should have a field day against the Colts pass defense. They're stout against the run, but they are vulnerable to the pass. And the Bills actually did a decent job passing the ball, but they were way behind.
So, Mike,
and they had all the turnovers. Excuse me.
Yeah. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. When you look at how the Giants played the Bucs last night, can the Colts learn from that? Because that was as passive a game plan and not changing it as maybe I've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to compare those 2 teams because they do play in the same National Football League, but they're not in the same league. You just literally you can't compare those 2 teams.
So true.
Yes, they can learn from it. It's no different. Like everyone knows what Tampa Bay wants to do. When Tom Brady is a quarterback, they want to throw the football. Look, I think the bigger question is, do we get any Antonio Brown at all this week? Is he still out for sure? Rob Gronkowski being back, as long as he's activated again, he definitely helps take some pressure off. Another guy that we're not talking about that I thought was going to be activated in time for last week is Scotty Miller. Scotty Miller ran routes around 13% target share last year. He's still an upgrade. I know we like Tyler Johnson at times for them, but he's still an upgrade there. If they get him back this week, like I expect, there's a small chance on Antonio Brown, but they're likely to have two of the three of Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, and Scotty Miller. That changes things pretty drastically. So I like the Bucs in this spot. I make them minus 3.3 in my simulations. Yes, the road games are always concerning, but when it's Tom Brady on the road, much like I like the Bills this week on the road, if I'm playing a road game, I want it to be indoors in a dome where I'm not dealing with elements. I want to be comfortable. That's where we like Tom Brady at this point in his career. So yeah, give me the Bucs minus 2.5. I haven't made an official play yet. I don't anticipate the number jumping up much more. I think that there's a pretty strong recency bias there with the Colts and what we just saw with the combination of getting them on their home field, the way Jonathan Taylor's been running and playing. But this is one where we might look back and the Bucs might win this one by 2 scores, and everyone will be like, "Well, yeah, duh, obviously."
It's so true. I don't know that I've ever seen a team like last night where they said, "Yeah, let's go up against the greatest quarterback of all time and see if he can complete passes 8 to 10 yards, and we'll just let him do it for the entire game, and hopefully he makes a mistake." And he never did. Terrible. RJ, let me come to you. Next game on the board, Panthers and the Dolphins. This one's a pick 'em. And I know a lot of people instantly are going to jump on the Panthers. You made this an official play. Tell me more why with the total sitting at 42.5.
Yeah, I got it to pick them on Monday. It's up to 1.5 now because everybody saw that line and they said, well, Panthers should be favored in this game. So it drove up to 1.5. Despite their win, I didn't think Miami looked great against an awful Jets team, and they don't match up well with Carolina. Like I said, Carolina's defense excellent against the pass, but struggles versus the run. However, Miami doesn't run the ball much, and when they do, they don't run it very well. Miami's defense playing well, but that's because that secondary got healthy and they were able to cover receivers better, and that's not going to help you against Christian McCaffrey. You got to have guys that can handle that part of the passing game, and I think he could have a huge day in this game. Cam played well last week, but the Carolina offense has continued to open up as he gets more reps. You're going to be able to do more on offense and kind of explode on these teams. I really don't know what they're going to see when some of these they really can implement the things that he can do after several weeks of practice, rather than having to keep it a little more vanilla. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think the Panthers are definitely a team trending upward. Dolphins, I don't think are very good. So I think even at 1.5, you lay it with Carolina. As long as it's under 3, you're probably going to want to be on Carolina.
All right, very good. And then total has come down to 42 now as well, not 42.5. So apparently, guys, we have some breaking news to interrupt the show. The Jimmy in the chat says that Prop Stars has released his best man. Pat Freiermuth is expected to be the replacement. He does love Pat Freiermuth. He really, really does. Jimmy, well done. Very, very well done. If anybody didn't know, Prop Stars is getting married today. He is tying the knot. So he is no longer a single man, and he is such a big part of what we do here at the Early Edge. All right, let's move on. Next one. Mikey, I'm coming to you. And this is, again, one of the marquee games of the week. Are the Titans a real football team without Derrick Henry? Last week, they didn't look like it. Now they have to go to perhaps the hottest team in the entire league, the Patriots. Already up to 6.5. It keeps moving and trending up. The total 44.5. What do you got, Mikey?
Yeah, I like the Titans. I'm not playing it until we get 7, but if we get 7, I do like the Titans at this number. I think the game will be a little more competitive than we think. We know Vrabel will be ready for this one at the Patriots here. I think that they'll have it tuned up, ready to go on the defensive side of the ball. Look, I think the Titans are still a decent football team, to be honest with you. So I think the number is too big. I think it should be down around where it opened, but I've got the Titans in the teaser right now, plus 12.5, with those Steelers at plus 10.5. And I'm just going to be waiting this one out, hoping that it hits 7 on game day.
Maestro, should we believe more in the Patriots than what we are right now?
Well, the market believes in them moving from 2.5 all the way to 6.5. The look ahead was 2.5. This is a massive, massive move. Mike Vrabel, we all know how amazing he is as an underdog. And yeah, if it gets to 7, Tennessee's going to be super tempting. And they did put up over, I think, 400 or 500 yards against the Texans, but they were -5 in turnovers. That was an obvious letdown spot. This is obviously not. This is the game that they've been waiting for. I think it's going to be a close game.
RJ, I've got a futures ticket on the Titans at over 9.5. So right now, I just need W's. But the Patriots, I think, and this is just me, but I'm always just throwing this out there, I think the Patriots are the best team in the AFC East. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, because I'm a Bills fan, you want me to make an argument. You want me to make an argument for the Bills, but man, this offense that I've seen for the Bills, I can't make an argument right now. I'm just hoping they hang on for the playoffs at this point. I don't have a lot of belief in them. Yeah, New England's playing great, but they're like the highest stock high team, right now. They've just been crushing teams, playing some bad teams there. I think Tennessee was due to be exposed. They were getting lucky with some of that turnover luck, and it kind of all regressed in one game for them. But their defense still playing well. They held Houston, I think, 190 yards of offense. It's not like Houston was going up and down the field on them. So I think this is a matchup of two really good defenses. I think Mac Jones might have a little more difficulty in this matchup than he had in some others. So I think lower scoring point. I really agree with what Mikey said about waiting until it's 7 and jump on Tennessee, because that's the way I would look if it gets to 7.
All right, very good. Great analysis from all three of you. All right, let's move on to the next game on the board. And this one, man, this screams lay the juice on the money line, because I just don't think the Giants are good enough to win. The Eagles are laying 3.5. The total's at 46. Maestro, I'm coming to you.
This line is just a little curious why it's not higher. That's all that kind of concerns me there. I think firing Jason Garrett, is going to be a plus. Freddie Kitchens taking over from what I heard. I think that's a positive move for the Giants. I feel the line, based on the way the Eagles have been playing, should be, 4.5.
I'm trying to figure out, because correct me if I'm wrong, and I've been wrong before. Wasn't Freddie Kitchens the answer in Cleveland until he wasn't the answer in Cleveland? Am I right?
I think he did a good job when he was quarterback's coach and maybe calling some plays, but as a head coach, he obviously was not ready for that.
I've never seen, I tweeted this out earlier today, there's never been a luckier human being in the NFL than Jason Garrett. We forget that Jerry World once paid him $3 million a year to be the offensive coordinator and not leave town. $3 million to be the offensive coordinator as a head coach in waiting. It was crazy. It was crazy how much leash he gave him. How long was he in Dallas? 15 years? 16 years? And they did nothing. Literally nothing.
It felt like forever. And when you're starting a staff from scratch and, you have any pick, and there's so many brilliant young coordinators out there, and you take a guy that we've seen for over a decade not really do much.
That's just how the Giants are run now. They used to be a great organization in the 90s. They're just not anymore. Sometimes being an executive doesn't mean you're a good one. And I think that needs to be across the board in sports, to be honest with you. All right, let's move on. And I'm coming to you, RJ, because this is the game, again, that all three of you like this game this week. Falcons on the road in Jacksonville. It's been hovering around to pick them. The total at 47.5. What do you like, RJ?
Yeah, I have best bet on the Atlanta. Obviously, improving Jacksonville rush defense. Last couple of weeks just got gashed by San Francisco, so still needs some improvement, it looks like. Atlanta isn't going to run much anyway, though, so I don't – even if their run defense plays well in this game, I don't think it matters, because Atlanta's going to be throwing the ball. Atlanta's weapons look mediocre right now with Calvin Ridley out, but I'm not sure Jacksonville's defense can hang with Pitts or Patterson in the passing game. I think it's going to be that's a bad matchup. That's tough for you to go against almost any defense in this league if that's your weapons for Atlanta. But Jacksonville ain't that defense. I think you can go take those guys into battle and have success. Atlanta's defense was solid against New England, and then it kind of fell apart at the end with those interceptions. Jacksonville's offense hasn't scored more than 23 all year. That offense is a tough test for nobody. It just kind of seems like anybody can limit that offense. And Atlanta has looked like a solid team at times this year. Jacksonville needs teams to implode to have a shot. 4 Atlanta wins were against the Giants, Jets, Miami, and New Orleans. Losses were to New England, Dallas, Carolina, Washington, Tampa Bay, and Philly. You take those two groups and look at them, compare them. Where do you think Jacksonville belongs in those groups? I think it's in the former, where the teams that Atlanta are beating, and that's why I like the Falcons. I think they're going to come out with a win here.
Wow, the Fighting Urban Meyers haven't scored over 23 points all year long. The ineptness with some of these franchises like Detroit and Jacksonville blows my mind. These next two teams fall into that category. Mikey, I'm coming to you. Jets, Texans laying 3, total at 44. And I know that RJ is already on the Jets in this game, so I'll get back to you, RJ. But Mikey, start the conversation on how in the world RJ can take the Jets.
I think he's going to tell you that it's not a play on the Jets. It's fading the Houston Texans coming off of a win and an obvious letdown spot. I want absolutely no part of this game. I essentially have pretended that this game does not exist this week. There are far more places that I can invest my money in. So, I'll read you my simulation number real quick, which is -3.5, 43.3. So I guess a slight lean on the under of the 44.5 that's currently available in the market. I guess a little bit of value with the Texans, but I don't feel good about either side. So this game doesn't exist to me.
RJ, back yourself up.
Yeah, Houston coming off a rare win, but they did not play particularly well in that game. It was turnover city. 3 of their 5 scoring drive featured a combined 1 yard of offense. They had a 5-yard drive that went for a touchdown after that stupid punt that went off the guy's foot. And they got 5 yards and a touchdown. Good job there. You got the 5 yards that you needed for a score. And then they had 2 field goal drives that totaled 0 yards and -4 yards. And they got 6 points out of those 2 drives. You do that anywhere else on the field, obviously you're not getting points. So it's really 13 free points for them. They should have lost that game. I was on them. I really like the Texans. I've been on the Texans several weeks. You've heard me talk up the Texans. Coming off a win where they didn't look good, this is the time to jump off them. They should not be favored against anybody. The thing to do with this line is ignore home field, put it at pick'em, and nobody will bet this game. But if you're going to throw 3 points on one of these sides, you got to take the other side. The Jets aren't good, but Elijah Moore is really good, and I don't know how Houston slows him down. Houston's not going to get those turnovers very often. You can't just count on the Jets to come out turning the ball over. I know it is the Jets, but either one of these teams could be turning the ball over. So just take the points, fade the Texans, one of the worst teams in the league playing another one of the worst teams, and be happy that you're getting 3 points.
Maestro.
Yeah, and it should be noted that Zach Wilson is fully healthy, and they said he was going to be the starter even before the COVID news knocked out Flacco and Mike White. Whether that's true or not, at least it's a good narrative. I'm with RJ. I took the field goal. Just didn't think it should be a full 3. And it also gives you a reason to watch the game.
I want both of you to win the bet, but low key, I kind of want to see what RJ comes up with in a tweet when the Jets go out and lose like 42-0, because I love your Twitter so much. But I don't want you to lose. But I think that'd be low key kind of funny. All right.
And just point out, I'm playing the 3 here, but play the money line too. I mean, there's no, you're going to get plus money on the money line here. There's no reason why either of these teams should be favored. So you're getting great value on the Jets money line. If they cover, they're going to win.
There you go. Boom, boom, and boom. Now, this is not our favorite game of the week. We know that. But you know what was one of my favorite shows of all time that I wanted to be on when I was just a young pup in the WWE in my early 20s? The Real World. And now it's a big part of Paramount Plus. Check it out.
This is the true story.
That was not funny. David's falling off the rails. He's about to piss me off.
I don't think we'll be doing a lot of arguing, will we?
The Real World Homecoming, Los Angeles. Streaming November 24th. Exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Please explain to me how a bunch of 40-something-year-olds that did it 20 years ago have the time to take 2 months off to do this again. Do you guys have that time? You think CBS is going to say, hey, Maestro, take 2 months off and go be on Celebrity Big Brother? You want to do that? Oh, man. I'm anxious to see all these old people coming back to Los Angeles, 50 miles from where I sit right now. But we love the Real World. I love the challenge. I love all of that. All of it on Paramount Plus. All right, let's get back into our board. That's why we were here. Now, there are 3 late games on Sunday. The first one, very, very important, because if I would have told you 4 weeks ago, Maestro, that the Chargers and the Broncos both would be looking up at the Kansas City Chiefs, you would have told me I was crazy. But that's where we are at. Both teams need this in the most desperate of ways. And the current number just went up to 2.5 for the Chargers, 405 total, 47.5. Talk to me.
I'm going to lean to the Chargers, and I actually got to hop off after this to get ready for HQ. Got to put on a more presentable shirt. But, I just think that what Teddy Bridgewater did in that game where he didn't go for the tackle, I just think that has reverberations around a team. When you see the guy who's supposed to be your leader, making the business decision and not going for the tackle, I'm off the Broncos. I think the Chargers should have blown out the Steelers. They were pretty unfortunate with a few situations there with the turnovers. But right now I would say Chargers or pass.
Okay. How important for either team do we think they are, RJ, playoff teams at all. They had their good run, but both teams have really kind of struggled the last several weeks. Chargers did get a big win, however.
I think the Chargers could be a playoff team. They need to finish strong. They dominated Pittsburgh for much of that game. Still need a big play at the end to win. I mean, that's been the Chargers' MO for as long as I think I've been watching them, is that it seems like they should be beating these bad teams, and then they always need to struggle to win it at the end. So I'm not really confident laying points with a team like that has trouble running away from even bad opponents. So I would look to Denver here, but I don't like them at 2.5. I'd wait because people are going to push this up to 3, maybe even push up to 3.5, and then I think about the Broncos. They have severe issues on their offensive line, though. That was on display against Philadelphia. Garrett Bowles was expected to be back this week. Now he's on the COVID list, so he's probably not going to play. So you combine that with the 2 guys they lost for the season earlier. It's just a mess on that offensive line. It's not great. But I do think they can have success versus a Chargers defense that's 25th in points per drive if they can protect a little bit. Ideally, they'll be able to run the ball, which somehow Pittsburgh didn't try to do as much as I thought they would and didn't want to do, and that's what you need to do against the Chargers. If that happens, it'll be easier for Bridgewater back there. Fangio had the defense playing well before the Philly game. I think they can find that success again against this offense that seems to get in their own way more often than not. So hopefully it gets a 3.5, and I'm thinking about taking the Broncos right now. I'm not playing it.
I think that's a great point. By the way, it's in Mile High, which is always a good home field advantage. Now, somebody in the chat said, I apologize, I didn't even say goodbye to the Maestro. How rude am I? But Mikey, they said maybe you can give the Maestro your pimpin' pink shirt that you wore last night for Early Edge Live when I had to dress up like Sia. I don't think I pulled it off as good as Sia does, but very funny in the chat. Thank you very much, Maestro. Thanks for hanging out with us today. You can check him out over on CBS Sports HQ. All right, our next game on the board, Mikey, Rams and the Packers. This may end up being the game of the week. It certainly has big-time playoff implications. Here's where we're sitting at right now. It's a straight pick 'em. Straight pick 'em. Total sitting at 48, 425 start. Talk to me.
Yeah, this one is interesting. So I have some major questions for the Rams when they hit the road, especially when they play outdoors. They're used to playing a lot of home games, obviously, a lot of indoor games, more comfortable environments. This is the most uncomfortable environment, maybe outside of an isolated situation in Buffalo, but they're on the road in Green Bay. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy, always a threat of snow at that point. Now they've lost Robert Woods. It does have an impact on them. They're going to need big performances out of Tyler Higbee. So I lean towards the Packers here. I think the home field advantage truly exists in this spot. So my number in the model here is Packers minus 1.6. Going to be playable if you're still getting the true pick 'em. I think you're going to have very sharp people on both sides of it, but I lean towards Aaron Rodgers and the Packers here in this one. Again, just like the Cowboys, I talked about how I'm skeptical of them playing outside of domes, outside of their home environment or comfortable environments. I have that same concern for this Rams team. So I'm going to take the Packers here if I had to. Right now, I'm just kind of waiting, hoping that people buy the Rams. If people buy the Rams and we get any amount of points with the Packers, I'll be looking to take them here.
Okay. And RJ, on the other side, should we be concerned at the way the Packers lost to the Vikings last week?
I think it's a little bit concerning. I think what concerns me is their offensive line. With Elgin Jenkins, who had been filling in at left tackle with David Bakhtiari out, he suffered a season-ending injury, so he's gone for this game. Bakhtiari's not going to be back. So now you're down to third stringer, and this is not the defense you want to be playing backups with your offensive line. They were already playing rookies in the middle of the line. I think third and fourth rounders, middle of the line. They had to contend with Aaron Donald, and now Von Miller's going to be going after this, replacement level tackles. So that's not great for them. I think the bye came at a perfect time for a flailing Rams offense. Gives Beckham more time to integrate. Gives Stafford a chance to reset. You talk about the Rams, not great going on the road in this cold situation. And they're not going to be a good team there. Stafford is used to it. I know he played indoors in Detroit, but he's played plenty of these Green Bay games too. In December, the last one he played, I think he tore up Chicago in December in his last outdoor road game in the winter last year, and it was 35 degrees in that game, and he had like 400 yards or something in that game. So I mean, it's not like I don't think he's going to fall apart in this weather. Green Bay's pass defense coming off its worst day could be a blip, could be something the Rams can exploit here. And the Rams, they got beat up by Green Bay last year in the playoffs, and they've been waiting for revenge. This is why you go get Matt Stafford, is for this game against Green Bay. And it really feels like as long as he's not, just shooting himself in the foot, and the offense is just doing what it needs to do to be a little bit of effective and not taking too many risks. This can be a game dictated by the Rams defense where they get after Aaron Rodgers. He's scrambling around all day. Ramsey's on Adams, and Rams win this game. So I like the Rams to win this game, even in the elements. And I do think that's probably where it's going to get pushed. I think the sharps will probably push this to Rams pick them, or maybe even -1 by the time we get to kickoff.
Yeah, and I think you bring up the absolute most important point for the Rams anyway. When they have not played well this year, it's when Matthew Stafford is making mistakes. And if he can keep away from those mistakes, man, they are a dangerous, dangerous team. Cooper Kupp is tremendous, and that defense can be brutal. All right, let's move on to our next one. RJ, I'll come back to you. And this also has low-key playoff implications. Vikings beat the Packers last week. Now they have to go to San Francisco. The 49ers are now laying 3. The number just changed. The total sitting at 48. What do you like?
Yeah, look at this line with how the Vikings are playing. Getting 3 points, I should jump on them, be all over them. Look good for 2 straight weeks, but that means it's time for them to flop. This is what the Vikings do. They look good for a few weeks,
yes.
They look terrible. Then they look good for a few weeks, and they look terrible. The Minnesota defense played well against the Chargers, but has struggled against good offenses otherwise. San Francisco got creative on offense. They used Debo in the backfield with Mitchell out. Pass game still looks solid. I don't think you should be allowed to use Debo Samuel in the backfield. They should put a rule in. That's just not fair. He's tough enough to cover when he's outside.
So true.
So if they're doing things like that against the Vikings defense, I think Mike Zimmer lost his fastball a few years ago defensively. I think they could take advantage of this matchup. And I think San Francisco, with this good offense, with Debo healthy, Kittle healthy, Ayuk healthy, they're going to come out and score a lot of points. Is Minnesota going to be able to keep up? They have the offensive weapons to do it with Jefferson and Cook and Thielen. They could score points too, as long as the offense doesn't flop and Cousins has a bad game. And we know he has one of those every 3 or 4 games. And so I just think this is the time for it to happen. My lean's going to be to San Francisco because I just think that the Vikings are due for a stinker.
Mikey, it's interesting that RJ would use the frame Mike Zimmer loses his fastball on the same day that we realize that off the field, he has certainly not lost his fastball. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, just go to social media. That's all I'm going to say. My man Mike Zimmer has some game. However, Mikey, on the field, they've been struggling, as RJ said, from time to time. But I haven't even been focused on that today with all the news of Mike Zimmer coming out. But let's focus on that for now and your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be funny to go back and watch this because you and I started smiling at the exact same time when he said that. Both going to the same spot. He clearly hasn't lost the fastball at all. As far as this game goes, it's very interesting. I'm very curious on the 49ers and their depth and their health at running back. Jeff Wilson was okay, but not great. The efficiency was terrible in that last one. So Debo Samuel is going to be a problem for them. But as of right now, I think if you're getting 3.5 or more, I think you have to take the Vikings. If this drops to 2.5, I'd be on the 49ers. What that tells you is that I think this game is priced pretty appropriately in the market. It's a total stay away. Looking at my simulations right now, my total is exactly at 48 as well.
Okay.
So we're going to need some news to move this around a little bit, but anything under 48, I would look towards the over in this one. And then, like I said, anything on the other side of 3 would be the opposite team in that spot.
Okay. So it's a very, very, very tight number. By the way, I forgot to give you a shout out at the start of the show today. You hit your donkey parlay 3 nights in a row last night. Is that right? Yep. 3 nights in a row. For those of you who watched the evening show, watch this show on Thursday, Sunday, Monday. If you watched it, you played it. 3 different donkey parlays plus 500 or more. We cashed the last 3 nights. And we're going to do it again on Thursday, damn it. All right, RJ, let me come back to you. The next game on the board, this is Sunday Night Football we're talking about. And this is another game just like Vikings 49ers, just like Rams Packers, just like Chargers Broncos. Whoever wins this game certainly still in the discussion. If the Ravens win or lose, they'll be in there. But the Browns need this one so badly. Right now, the number is 4. No, it's 3 and down to 3.5, and the total is at 46. Talk to me.
Yeah, I liked it at 4. If it's going to keep coming down, I'm probably going to be a stay away. But it's hard to get a handle on Cleveland week to week. Their offense has scored 17 or less in 5 of their last 6. So just when I thought their offense was bad, I was willing to play against them, and they threw up a 41 kind of out of nowhere. I'm not confident Baker can exploit a Baltimore pass defense that has struggled in big spots this year, but that passing game in Cleveland doesn't look great. And Baltimore offense should be much better as long as key pieces aren't getting surprisingly ruled out late, like Lamar Jackson just out of nowhere after I take the Ravens is all of a sudden not playing after it looked like he was. So that wasn't great. But Baltimore's defense has been much better against the run than the pass, but that's because it hasn't been tested much. People are just throwing it on this team because they know those guys in the secondary can't tackle, and they're getting big plays against Baltimore. Cleveland is going to test them running the ball. Cleveland's number 1 in yards per rush, and they have more rush attempts than pass attempts. They don't care what you do defensively. They're going to come out here and try to run the ball. And I think that being unable to tackle is contagious for Baltimore, and Cleveland could break off some big plays on offense. But the key thing to me that puts me on Cleveland and why I like them at +4 is that I think their defensive line can have success against a Baltimore offensive line that hasn't been great this year. We know they've been missing Ronnie Stanley all year, and I just look at that Myles Garrett versus Villanueva matchup and the tackles that they have. I just think that Lamar Jackson's going to be running for his life all day. If he's not at the top of his game, making people miss, then it could be like a game where if he was only rushing for 30 yards, they could lose this game by a decent margin. So if Baltimore's defense isn't shutting down the Cleveland rush offense, they're going to have trouble covering this game. I like Cleveland. I like them at +4, +3.5. I'm starting to get a little, wishy-washy on it. I wouldn't play it at 3.
Mikey, agree or disagree?
Somewhat disagree. I like the Ravens when they're at home. Lamar should be back. Hollywood Brown. They're going to be healthy for one of the first times in terms of having that passing attack for them. I think it's a spot where we might get this one down to 3. If it hits 3 and I'm getting the Baltimore -3 at home here, I will be playing Baltimore. My current number in the model is -5.2. Look, the Browns, they are drastically improved this individual week, having both of the running backs, Chubb and Hunt, back there. They are going to try to run the football. I don't trust Baker's ability to throw the football for some of the big plays here. I think that they're really lacking in the receiving core. So I like the Ravens on their home field. I think they'll make just enough plays. I think Lamar having this week to recover and get better. When you've given him Bateman, Watkins, Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, I think that it's as long as he's healthy and ready to go, I think they win this game by close to a touchdown. Again, I make it -5.2. Haven't played anything yet because I do think the Browns are going to be a team that attracts some money this week when everyone realizes that they're truly healthy and ready to go here. So I'm hoping that we get some news that even Lamar, frankly, I hope Lamar misses practices this week with the illness and this line gets closer to 3. It's an easy play for me if it gets to Baltimore -3.
All right, so pay attention to the number. If it gets down to 3, Mikey says hammer it at 3. If it goes up, then you're kind of on your own a little bit. All right, this last game, and this screams. When I was at ESPN for 10 years, we used to joke all the time that whoever was in the NFL office used to hate ESPN because they'd get the worst Monday Night Football games. And this week, Seattle, traveling all the way to Washington, D.C., to the nation's capital. Now, Mikey, Washington low-key has been playing very exciting football games. They close it out with a 10-minute drive against the Bucs and win by 10. And then they go on the road and they beat the Panthers, and another late score for them getting it done. They've got a quarterback who's hyped. He's confident. Can they beat Seattle coming here? And here's the number because it keeps changing. We're going to go with -1, Washington, total 46.5. What do you like?
I like the Seahawks here. I think everyone in the world is on Washington. I think, it's not a massive, massive edge. I think the wrong team is favored by a point. It's not really much to argue over -1, +1 here in this spot. But I do think it's a great spot to buy back in on the Seahawks. We've seen the ceiling there. Yes, Washington beat Carolina in that spot. They had a few big plays that were able to do it. Some really great catches from Terry McLaurin. And you could argue that he will continue to make those plays because that's what he does, but he could very easily not have made one of those plays. This team goes for it a lot on 4th down. I just think it sets up as a little bit of a letdown spot for them and home in the prime time. So I like Russell Wilson here. I like Tyler Lockett. I like DK Metcalf. I think it's a spot where it's going to be a pretty good spot to fade all the recent success for the football team. And, under normal conditions, we would have expected Seattle to be -2.5 to -3, -3.5 in this spot, even on the road. And much like the Chiefs, I'm going to jump back a week ahead of everyone else. Hopefully I'm right. And everyone has to upgrade the Seahawks again after they have a good performance. But that's what I'll be betting on here, would be the Seahawks side.
Boy, if there's one thing I've learned from you guys, and I'm not great at doing it, is to forget about what just happened. Forget about what just happened. It doesn't always mean that that's going to be what happens the next time. RJ, close us out. This is Monday Night Football. Can Washington continue their run, or do you also like Seattle?
I think they can continue their run. Seattle's offense looks broken, and it's really down to Russell Wilson not being healthy. He came back earlier than what most people do from that injury, and he said, "Oh, I'm just as always, I'm a fast healer. It's a miraculous recovery. I'm ready to go after 3 weeks." And he wasn't. He clearly was not ready to go in that first game. He did not look healthy. This last game, he hasn't looked healthy. Maybe he'll be healthy by this game a week later, but I just don't think until we see it, you can count on it. And something's clearly wrong with the way he's throwing the ball, and that injury is going to affect how you throw the ball, obviously. So their offense is broken. Their defense couldn't stop Colt McCoy and failed in a must-win spot. You have to win that game if you're Seattle. Stay in the playoff race, stay in the division race, and they just did not look good. So maybe it clicks this week and Russ looks right finally, and they play well. This would be the matchup to do it. The Washington defense ranks 32nd in third down conversion rate. So those obvious pass situations where you need to throw the ball well, they're just letting people, get those first downs. But Seattle's offense has struggled in that same metric all year. So maybe they don't get it done if Russ isn't healthy. Seattle's defense needs to play better, and Russell needs to play much better for this line to make sense for me, because right now Washington's the better team, and they don't get a good home field advantage in general because Washington does not have a good home field advantage at all. Great home crowds there. But so even if you just say, okay, throw out home field advantage, which of these teams is better? Right now it's Washington. So I would lean to Washington, but if that line's climbing up towards Washington, I'm not willing to lay points on them.
And they're playing with a lot more energy. They're playing with more, I hate the word motivation because I know they're professional players, but when you watch the two teams play, they're just playing with a lot more hype. But you are right. If anybody's never been to a home game in Washington, don't go. It's the worst atmosphere in all of the NFL. And it's not even close to Washington. It's like way outside of town. It's just awful. It's just awful. All right, we are up against it. Oh, I thought somebody was going to drop in right there. Let's show the recap, and quickly I'll go through the official best bets for the show that we gave out earlier today. RJ's on the Steelers, Panthers, Falcons, and the Jets. M Squared's on the Falcons and the Panthers. Then also a couple of teasers. Bills, Cowboys teased them down. Titans and Steelers teased them up. Then the Maestro, 2 plays as well. Cowboys, Bills, moneyline parlay. All they got to do is win, -123, and the Falcons pick them. All right, I like to end every Early Edge Live, giving my guys 20 to 30 seconds on telling me what they're most looking forward to this week. Mikey, start us off.
Yeah, there's 3 teams that I'm really looking forward to watching. Number 1 being the Buffalo Bills. They need to handle business here on the short week. Same for the Dallas Cowboys. Great spot for them to get right against the the Vegas Raiders, even if they're not healthy. And then finally, this Titans-Patriots matchup, massive matchup. Very interested to see how the Titans perform on the road after getting embarrassed at their home field by the Houston Texans.
Very good. I love those 3 things to look forward to. RJ, bring us home.
I am not looking forward to watching Buffalo. I do not want them ruining Thanksgiving for me with how they've been playing offense. No, the interesting thing about this week is these last few weeks, we have seen these terrible spreads, these terrible matchups, 10-point favorites, 13-point favorites, whatever. This week is a lot of competitive games. We have the Dallas game is at 8 right now, and that's the highest spread of the week. Most of these games are under a touchdown. I know the New England line is climbing up. Buffalo line is climbing up, but you're mostly seeing these 3-point spreads, some pick-ems, some 2.5s. It looks like it's going to be a week of competitive football if the odds makers have this right. So it's going to be a fun week to decompress on Sunday after a long holiday weekend and watch some of these games, I think.
I agree, too. Quick little programming note as well. You made me think of something. Thursday, we're just having 2 shows. Early Edge Live in the morning at 10 a.m., and then we'll do, I believe it's at 11:30. I got to check the time. We will tweet it out. But we'll do all 3 games early, and there won't be an evening show because you guys are going to be busy eating and watching games, and we don't want to disturb that. So just 1 Early Edge Live in the afternoon before the first game on Thursday. We'll get that time to you over the course of the next couple of days. Don't forget our early Edge show tomorrow, 10 a.m., and also our college football mega preview every single Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. All right, there's only one thing left to do, and you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these future NFL tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire team, M Squared, the Maestro, RJ, the jeweler, who puts it all together here at the brand. Just because it's a holiday week, Don't get complacent. This is the busiest time. This is the most fun time. So tell all your friends about the early edge. Good luck.